Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you how I made this super springy hoop skirt to go underneath my petticoats. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So these are the measurements that I used. You can see the length I chose, and also I did 6 hoops, and those are the measurements of each of the hoops. I started off by cutting out my flat steel boning for each hoop, and I set those aside for now. Starting out with cutting out the hem bag, I measured 2 strips of my cotton twill fabric at 13 inches long and cut those out. Then for the waistband, I cut it out at 4 inches wide so I could fold it in half, and about 16.5 inches long on fold so that it was a little bit longer than my waist. And I cut out all my twill tape pieces for the boning channels and the vertical strips. To put the waistband together, I folded the twill in half and put that half length piece of canvas on top, and I'm just going to sew those straight down. Then I take that tube and I'm going to flip the whole thing inside out so that canvas piece is on the inside just for some extra strength. I press that down, and now I'm going to trim those corners, fold the corners in, and then sew those down to close it up. Then, just like I did for the petticoat, I'm going to take some bias tape and sew it down on the entire length of the waistband to make a channel for some drawstring. I went ahead and pinned my waistband to the dress form just to make this next part a little easier. So now I'm going to pin all of my vertical strips of twill tape onto the waistband. I'm using the seams on my dress form as a guide. I'm just going to place each piece in the middle of each of those seams. Then I measured and pinned all of the markings for where all of my hoops are going to go, and I did that on each strip. And I'm going to go ahead and secure the twill tape at the top by sewing it at the top and the bottom of the waistband around the drawstring channel. To make my boning channels, I took those twill tape strips that I cut and I folded them in half and sewed them into a tube. Then I took each of those strips and I folded them in half 3 different times to find the half, quarter, and eighth marks to divide it into 8 sections. For the hem bag, I sewed the 2 strips together on that short side. Then I folded the whole thing in half, right sides together, and sewed that open edge to turn that into a giant tube. Now that I have a giant tube, I'm going to flip that tube inside out. And then I'm going to press these seams flat. Now that everything's all nice and pressed, I'm going to sew my 2 boning channels about a ½ inch from each edge at the top and the bottom. So now that all the boning channels are ready, I insert the bones into the channels and then I secure the bones together. Don't do it like I did. You need to overlap them, otherwise it's not going to want to lay in a circle. So make sure you overlap your 2 bones at the end, and then you want to tape them up, shove them all back inside that channel, and then you're going to hand sew the whole thing closed. I just hand sewed the entire thing because I didn't feel like getting the machine back out. I repeat the process with all of the bones in the twill tape channels. So now I should have my hem bag along with my other 4 bones, which I can now arrange onto those vertical strips. And I just reorganized it after I finished because I was going to let gravity tell me whether or not they were looking right. Now that all the hoops are pinned on, I'm going to go ahead and hand sew at each of these junctions just to secure everything in place. Now this video is at like 10 times speed because it took me like 4 minutes to do each one because hand sewing is not my specialty, and I had to do this like 40 times. So as you can imagine, it took me quite a while. After a few hours of hand sewing, everything was attached, and all I need to do is add a hook and eye here at the back. And then for those last little bits of twill tape at the bottom, I just decided to machine sew those down. And the final step is adding in the drawstring using that safety pin method, and then I'm done. Oh my goodness, you guys, this thing came out so awesome. I had so much fun playing around within this while I was modeling it. But the best part about a hoop skirt is never the actual hoop skirt. It's what the petticoats look like when they're on top of the hoop skirt. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So in the video, you're supposed to like lift up the back before you sit down. Yeah, just like that. So this thing is awesome. It made me feel like a whole, I don't think it's supposed to sink around the chair. It made me feel like a whole princess, which was so fun because being a princess is awesome and ball gowns are awesome. But I love how it came out. It gives the perfect amount of volume, makes everything just flare out so much more. Plus, it makes it easier to walk around because I don't have to worry about all the lining and the tulle and the netting getting caught in the legs when I'm walking around in that petticoat, because this gives me like a nice little ring of space, so I don't have to worry about that. Of course, I did make some mistakes in the process. Some of my math was off when I was cutting the tubes. So these at the top were a little bit short, so I had to add like a little bit of tulle, and I had tulle. I had to add a little bit of the twill tape to kind of lengthen it out and make sure I covered the whole thing. These down here at the bottom, these were the first rings, hoops that I put together. So I did kind of make a couple of mistakes when I was putting them together and they weren't like staying in a circle. I didn't feel like unpicking the whole thing and doing it again though, because I didn't realize it till I got to like these up here at the top. So all I did was like add an extra piece of boning right on top and then just like tape it down and sew some twill tape over it. So it's kind of ugly, but nobody's ever gonna see it because this is like the most undergarmenty of undergarments. But I love how it came out. It's gonna do its job just fine, and no one's ever gonna see all the mistakes I made on it. So yeah, that's cool. Anyway, this is getting me really excited for making the dress because I can't wait to see how the dress is gonna look over this and the petticoat, because it's gonna be so freaking cute. Super excited. So I hope you stay tuned so you can catch me making the dress. Anyway, I'll see y'all next time. Bye. Good Lord. Free myself from the chair.